All right, good evening. Let's carry on. We're going to carry on with if statements, and this time we're talking about if statements with how they work with these comparison operators. And the comparison operators that you know, and ors and nots, we're going to check how they work within the context of an if statement. Okay, so this is quite a nice algorithm. This is just kind of some kind of check to see if you're able to go on a ride. Maybe it's a bit of a slightly dangerous ride, I'm not too sure, but it checks your height, your weight, and your age, and if those all are okay, then you can ride. Otherwise, you're either too small, too young, or too old, okay? And we're going to figure out this whole thing piece by piece so that you understand what's going on here. All right, so I'm going to start just with, I'm going to leave the age part out first. I'm just going to start with height or weight. Yeah, let's do those ones. Okay. So I'm going to just get those variables and we're going to get them from the user. So we're going to use that input function that Python uses, and we're just going to say, please enter your height. I'm going to just say meters like that because it needs to be in meters. And then we also want weight. And it needs to be an input function, and please enter your weight in kg. Oopsie, my bad. Okay, so now let's just go back to have a look at what we were supposed to do first. So the first thing is to check that you've got to be taller than a meter or heavier than 20 kgs. Okay, so and then we're checking if you're big enough. If either one of those, because this is not about age, right? The age we'll deal with just now. This too young, too old thing, that's just to do with age. So we're dealing with this size issue. And either your height or your weight has to be outside of a specific range. And so we're checking that. The too small. So we're checking if you're big enough. Okay? And so I'm going to call a variable just that. Big enough. And obviously you wouldn't do this in pseudocode. I'm just trying to explain to you how these things work. And then, okay, so height needs to be greater than 20. And now we're going to use that or operator. Or weight needs to be, my word. Height needs to be greater than 1. Or weight needs to be greater than 20. Okay. I just want to make it obvious which part of the function is what. So there we go. We got two sides to this evaluation. Sorry, not function. This is an evaluation. There's two sides to it, a left and a right. It starts counting from this side. It starts checking from this side. It checks if you're taller than a meter. If you are taller than a meter, then it's already going to evaluate to true, even if you're shorter than, even if you're lighter than 20 kgs. But remember, when you enter this value in, it's going to come in. This is going to be holding a string character. And this, to do this evaluation, it needs to be a number of sorts. And so we can convert it to an integer. And so we need to wrap the height variable in this int function. So that's going to turn it into an int. Although that's not going to work. I'll show you why it's not going to work. And I'm going to do the same because you need to do the same with weight. So I'm going to wrap the weight in a int function as well. And let's see what goes wrong. Please enter your height in meters. I'm going to say 1.2 meters. So I'm tall enough. Kgs, I'm 20 kg, or 21, so I'm heavy enough. And there's an error, okay? And I knew this was going to happen. It says there, invalid literal for an integer. It's a base 10 number, that's 0.1. So integer means a round number, right? So 1.2 is not an integer. The value I entered is not an integer. So you can do another thing, is you can convert it to a float, which is also a number, so it can still do this evaluation. And a float is called a float because this decimal point can float up and down the number. And that has something to do with how they store these binary values in registers and where they keep it. So if they have like a 16-bit register, then the float can move up and down the register. So you can have the majority of the large part of your number or the majority of the small part of your number. So that's how it all goes all the way down to the architecture. Okay, so what this is going to do is going to check if you're taller than the meter. I'm going to leave this as an int because nobody ever says half kgs, do they? You have 25 kgs. And like, let's say somebody put the wrong value in, they decide to go 19 and a half, which doesn't matter. We could just put some kind of validation on the input so that it can round it down to an integer, because it doesn't really matter. But height matters, because you can either be 1 meter tall, 2 meters tall, or 0. So that's not going to work. We need to give an increment in between that range. Okay, so let's see how this prints out. So I'm going to print to the console and put some text that I know what we're saying. We're checking to see if you are big enough. And so I'm going to put a question mark there. And now let's pass that variable in. And when we run this, we will see what value this variable is holding after we've entered these values. Okay, so let's run it this time. 1.2 meters. I am 21 kgs. So I am big enough, right? So let's just test this, test every option that this could be. So let's test that you are too short, right? You're only 0.9, so you're too short, but you are heavy enough. So then you can still ride, okay? Because this is an or statement. So if either this one or this one, right? So yes, you can ride, because even though you're too short, you're heavy enough. So let's try the other option. Let's say you're tall enough, but you are too light. You can still ride, okay? But let's check that both options, you're too short and you're too light and you're not big enough. Okay, so that is all of those. Now I want to move on to the age one, but I don't have to go through this whole process. I'm just going to comment these out. And then let's move on to the age one. So I'm going to say age and an input function. Please enter your age. All right, and this can be an int, obviously, because no one ever enters half ages. And again, we can just validate it in case they do. All right, and then we're going to do, so what are we going to say? I'm going to call it within age range. Terrible name. I just want you to be able to know what's going on. Okay, so now we're doing the and. Okay, so your age has got to be greater than 5, but your age and not all, and your age has to be less than 70. Okay, so let's just put these two wrapped again so you can see the two sides of this evaluation. Okay, so now these can be wrapped in ints, obviously, because they're coming in as a string from what you enter. Now you convert it to an int so they can do the evaluation. Now you got two sides of this evaluation. And this one's different because the other one, either this one or this one could be true, but this one, they both have to be true. So let's print that out. Print. I'm just going to copy this as the text, put a colon there, and then I'm also going to pass the variable. Okay, so let's compression test this one. So age. Okay, we're going to say that you are like, I don't know, within the age range. Okay, let's just see what happens. Yes, you are within the age range. True, good, because you are old. 18 is greater than 5 and less than 70. Let's say you are 4 years old. Okay, you're too young. And let's say you are 71. You are also too old in this case. So both of those don't work. Okay, good. So now that we've got all that working, let's put together the last piece of this if statement that we looked at. Okay, so I'm just going to get rid of these prints. We don't need them anymore. I'm going to put these two Boolean values that get produced after these evaluations next to each other. And now I'm going to explain the last piece, because if you look here, there's quite a lot of pieces to this statement. There's there's this side of the OR and this side, and these are all one piece. And then there's this side, sorry, that side, and they from there and there are one piece. And then we got that, and that's all on the side of this and. So I've just tried to write it nicer to make it more readable for you. So now you can just say if big enough and within age range. See how easy and readable that is? Then you can print. So if both of those are true, print. What did they want us to print? You can write. Yeah, that's what they wanted. You can write. Else. So okay. Again, this is an and. So if big enough is false, but the age range is right, you are within the right age, but you're not big enough, then in that case, this will fail, because this is an and. Okay, so both of these need to be true. And I could print that out if you want. You could print age range and print big enough and fiddle around with that if you want, but I'm sure you get it. Okay, and so then just say print, you are either, they didn't say either, but I'm going to add either too small, comma, too young, or what was it? Oh yeah, or too old. Okay, there we go. All right, let's see what happens. Okay, your height. So I'm gonna go with everything being true at first to see. Height is, whoa, that's tall. kgs, age, yeah, 12 is fine, within range. You can write, cool. Try it again. Okay, so this time I am too short and too light, but I'm old enough. So yeah, for whatever reason, I'm either very skinny or too short. Okay, and then let's just, if you get what I'm going, I'm not going to test every single option because the way we've broken it down is clear enough. So yeah, this is, to me, a more readable way to lay out what they have done here, but I wanted to explain to you what is happening. And if you look at all these ors with and ands and all of them, and if you break them down carefully one at a time, then it's much easier if you put it in like this. But obviously you would write your pseudocode when you get tested exactly like this, but you would understand how it works because you would have run your code over here. Okay, good. Thank you very much for watching.